All right, now we're going to cut to our panel discussion hosted and led by my colleague, Zoe. Take it away, Zoe.
So thank you, Zach. Welcome to the panel discussion. I'm your host, Zoe Karash. I'm working here at Factbird as the sales manager for the DACH region. Have been doing that for the last 3 years. So I've got quite some experience with different projects from different customers in different industries, trying to implement Factbird and helping them along the way. Today we are going to talk about manufacturing in the digital age, trends and challenges. And why are we going to talk about this? Well, because there's multiple global trends, like, for example, technological advancement, labor shortage, supply chain issues, etc., that make this topic more relevant than ever. And so today we hope to get some valuable insights and maybe also some practical advice for manufacturers that want to thrive in this digital age. And for this, we have invited 3 experts from different companies to share their knowledge with us. So we've got Mikkel Rauff Simonsen, Senior Manager of Plant Optimization at Danish Crown, one of the world's largest exporters and one of Europe's largest producers of pork. Then here to my right, we have Kenneth Ranzau, Key Account Manager at OMRON Industrial Automation Europe, a large equipment manufacturer for industrial automation solutions. And all the way at the end, we have Mats Ekenstam. All right. CEO and co-founder of Boards on Fire, which is a provider for digital tools for lean daily management and continuous improvement. And without further ado, I think we should get started right away. There will be some time at the end for further questions, so just hold on to them and get them out later. We'll just dive in with the first question, which is a definition question really before we get started. So what is digitalization in manufacturing from your perspective? And I think I'll just give that one to Kenneth.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you, Zoe. So digitalization, what does it mean? Or what is it? I think it's a perspective of when you look at the production and that you want to use the value that is created in the production, but how to transform that value data to value. This is what digitalization means and the trend of the age. Mm-hmm. So, but I think the most perfect person to ask how to use the data to value is maybe Mikkel.
Yeah, maybe I can try, but for me, I think it's also about taking these analog processes and transform them into digital formats. So trying to make integrations toward these IoT solutions, automatization, utilization of these data analytics for me, of course, to raise the efficiency and productivity as well. I think that's one part of it. And I'll also set a foot down for the other part of it. That is a paradigm change within the industry for me. Because you need to remember the persons, you need to remember all the guys in production. So this big culture change, we need to remember this. I think very often this is it's the forgotten part of it. We're talking solutions, what can we get out of it? But we also need to use it and train and have these skills. And I know Mats has a lot of inputs into that.
Well, from my perspective, I think, first of all, thank you for being here today. It's great to collaborate with the companies. And now we have 2 new friends over here and a lot of people over there. And so that's real fun to be down from Sweden here today. I think I want to take it from another perspective because Boards on Fire, we started our company like 4 or 5 years ago. And it came up from a question about data and digitalization and so on. And that was the municipality in our hometown, Växjö. And the IT department, they were having whiteboards and they had done some lean education and so on. And they were wondering, is it possible in some way to digitalize this? Because we don't want the whiteboards anymore. And the founders of our company, they Ola and Gabriel, they were thinking, hasn't anyone done that before? So that was the traction for starting the manufacturing era or the digitalization era. So that impacted us a lot. And then a manufacturing company, Beds by Skapa, the first one to that. They were also working with daily management and so on, and they were wondering, is it possible for us to do a transformation over to the digitalization? And so we started with them to also do it in a different way than we had done it before. So for them, we started that way. I think this is a hard start for me, so I think I ended over to you. Yeah.
But that, I think, is the perfect sort of then handover to the next question, which is like, okay, now we talked about what is digitalization, especially in the manufacturing industry. But then what is the current state? Where are we at right now? And what technologies do you then see are actually driving the change towards digitalization?
Oh, tough one. I think for my experience has seen for many years that robots and the automation part of it has been the main part of it, because we want to reduce the labor cost. That's the first-hand perspective of it. But I think more and more now we're talking AI to looking into predictive maintenance. We're talking IoT solutions and how to build up these data analytics part of it. How can we collect and make collaboration and integration towards all the systems we have? Because I think if we look in the industry, we see not only one system, we see more or less 10, 20 different systems within the same company. So how is we want to use this data? Because we have a lot of data. So that's the part of it, I think. But I think Ken has more experience in in the tech part of it.
Oh, thank you, Mikkel. Yeah, but I think it's a question we often get when we are talking with the customers out in the field, that how are we able to collect all these kind of data from our existing lines, combine it together with our new lines, and then actually what you're saying, we have these 20 different kind of systems handling the data. So it's often topic that we are getting when we are out there. So there are various kind of solutions on collecting the data from the existing machines and then throw it to the cloud or to the existing local servers or whatsoever. And that's where we have our different kind of equipment, controllers, sensors, etc., that are capable of doing this. Yeah. So, but I think also it's a matter of when we are looking at the employees, which we also talk a lot about, is how that they are informed about not only getting better, but also being a team and making an effort on getting a business up and run, making it efficient in a proper way. And I think that's maybe a thing that is the hardest thing on getting or using all these kind of digitalization, is on to getting the employees to understand how important it is that we use their efforts on getting the data in a right way. But Mats, how do you see? I think that's something you are talking a lot about with the companies, on the behavior of the employees by using the data that is on the lines, and how that they can see themselves within that.
Yeah, that's true. We have one customer that's called Systemair. They do ventilation machinery for a lot of companies. I think they are now running. I think they have in 26 factories in I think 30 countries, and they were measuring their OEE all the time, but they forgot the people, and they wanted also to track what's happening in the daily management and so on. So the combination of what's happening with the continuous improvements, the daily management and so on, with the OE, the combination, and so they had the data, but they forgot the people. So the combination in between was very good for Systemair, and that made a big effort. So now they could communicate upwards and downwards in different ways and open up the company. So for us, it's always the people, not forget the people, and the data, of course.
Yeah. I see a pattern here suddenly, because we're talking about returning to the people all the time. But also when we're talking trends, I also think if you take all the new strategies in the industry, we're talking data-driven decisions. I think that's the most popular buzzword in that perspective right now. But what does it actually mean? I don't think we really rely on, okay, what is data-driven decisions? How do we want to push and drive this in our daily business? And again, that's what you're talking about. We need to find a solution how we can push it down and also understand the operators instead of just taking new systems in. What is actually they are in need of? Yeah. What kind of data do you need in your role within the company? So we have different layers, we have different hierarchies within the organization. So we need to understand how we can push the data out to the right people. So this kind of information, we have information overload with all the data we have, I think. So we need to push the right information out to the right places. That is the tough task, in my opinion.
Okay, and now you also already mentioned AI. So how do you see the discrepancy between maybe what's happening on the shop floor and then management talking about buzzwords like data-driven decisions and AI and so on?
I think AI is a new buzzword as well, but it's quite tough to understand what is AI and how can we use it. I think a lot of people think that AI can fix all the solutions, but we need to understand it first and use it in the right perspective again, because I like AI, but it can optimize my emails for now, to be honest. But we also need to see, okay, how can we use it in the data perspective? I would really like to push it for the predictive maintenance part of it. I think that's quite interesting. Also start realizing patterns, historical data. How can it help us with these analytics? Because why do we want to go in the digital transformation with the data? That's because we need to remove some costs we have of collecting data manually. We want to have it digital so we can receive it fast, what we call real-time data. But again, we also want to visualize in the same part of it. So now we shouldn't have data in a new perspective, but we're still using a lot of time understanding and analyzing this data. I think AI can help us in that perspective, showing us in the right directions and stuff like that, in my opinion. And if you guys have something on AI?
I would not say that I have something on AI in general, but I think if we look on the tech-wise, to use AI, we need to start collecting the data and being capable of getting the right data, because AI is a lot, but how can we get this within our production and start analyzing on the real data that gives us value? So it could be, for instance, that we need to get data in on a pressure pump or something like that, and we need to start to analyze on how is it working, and over time then we can use the AI or machine learning together and to get analytics on how the behavior is, and then we can begin to talk about predictive maintenance and being aware of where are the state of the machine, and I think that's where AI comes into a matter, where you can turn your production into more value and generate more value.
Yep. Yeah, and Mikkel, you were talking about how many languages was it at the Danish Crown?
Plus 50, yeah.
Plus 50. If you could use your native language when registering something, and it could transform it in some way. I think that could be because you're more fluent. You heard my start now. I'm getting warmer now. So if you can use your native language registering things, then it's much easier for people to understand, and you get more information. We are trying something now that we can take like a picture in a factory on like a truck or something, a forklift, and it's an oil spill, and you can take a picture and then you get the text into our system instead of writing it, and then you can take actions on it. So that's I think an AI thing that we are trying, but it has to make some effort and not just the AI for the AI.
Yeah. So where exactly do you guys see the biggest benefit of digitalization, and not just AI now, obviously, but there's the whole process of digitalizing processes within manufacturing?
Well, now I'm getting warmer. I think we have the digitalization is when you can make things better, faster, more inclusive, and make better effort for the company, more profit. The combination of everything, I think that is the best part. And we have, I think, take customers. Another one, Väderstad, they make Ferrari red agricultural machines. We have them as customers in Sweden, and they also are in the USA, and also in Canada. And they have been measuring their OEE a lot, but they also are into the daily management. and the combination in between. So what have happened now? I know that Factbird is working with Väderstar now, and hopefully there will be some good things when you can combine the both with them. So I think that's a very interesting. When you have the mix of everything, then you get the best effort.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I felt it also now, Matt. So, but I think what digitalization also is keen on is on driving the society to a better place by thinking about regulations is coming ahead. So we need to take and use the data more effective on reducing the waste in our production, be more productive. And this is something that OMRON is striving to do, is to getting a better society through our technology. So by collecting the data, analyzing it on reducing downtime, getting more efficient and more productive, that also leads to a better society on reducing power consumption and being better on these kind of things. Also reducing the waste of materials, etc. So I think that's where we are hitting, and also what we see of trends, for instance, with ESG and so forth. I think that's where we can use the digitalization on doing better for the society. So that's my point of view.
Yes.
Mikkel, you wanted to.
I felt it also much this time. No, but I agree on what you say, but I will also say, of course, I need to say reduce cost, raise efficiency and productivity as well. But for me, it's also about what data can do for us, what this digitalization can do, because we want to have the knowledge, we want to have the information as fast as possible. So suddenly understand what is the health of our machinery, what is the productivity of lines, what is the speed, the knowledge we get in there to have this. But for me, it's also the what data can do for the people, how we can combine people in another aspect that has been done before. Because very often you can just take an example of we have technical department on the right side, we have production on the left side. They always point fingers. It's your fault. It's your fault. Our data can help us. It's not your fault. It's not your issue. It's our issue. We need to have this common goal and race towards this in that point. I think that's really what data can do for us, and the digitalization part of it can transform this data into some kind of storytelling we can use in a day-to-day business, I think.
And how would you communicate that? Because I think one of the biggest points that always comes up with digitalization is also the fear of it from people, right? Being scared to be replaced by technology, really. And you guys already talked a lot now that it's actually meant to help people and make their lives better. But how do you address those discrepancies and expectations?
I talked a little about, I mentioned it earlier, but for me it's about to getting them involved as early as possible. I have had cases where we have put up new sensors, measuring points, where the next day it were bent. It was suddenly gone because the production felt it was some kind of observation from the top management. We need to see how you're performing. We want to use this. We want to benchmark it. But we need to understand how can it benefit the guys on the production. What can you use it for? What is your impact in this, and how can you use this data? It's not only about, we have a case example of it. We had a department, a line, where we had some issues with the foil for a couple of years. They had raised their hands to the management a couple of times, never an attention towards it because they couldn't document it. They couldn't show it to the management. This is our issues. So when we have this Factbird system, we can start document, okay, this is our top issue. This was number one stop for 4 months straight. We could document it. We could actually make the business case, what a new foil would cost. What, of course, it will be a new extra cost because we needed a thicker foil. But then we tested it out and we had 0 stops for 2 months. Okay, the case was quite good. We installed the new foil and we have an return on investment on 1.4 million just during this case. And then the other was, okay, this is our case. We won this. We showed the management actually we had this issue and we could solve it together. So it's about getting them involved from day one to say, okay, how can we when we're talking OE, we talked about is a tough metric for operators at that level, but to understand how is their impact on the OE. If I can perform my changeover quicker, then we can raise our efficiency. Okay, my downtime, when we're talking microstops, it's a tough metric as well, because every time I maybe register a stop on a tablet, making some quality checks, I'm going away from the line. Is that really necessary, or can somebody else do that? So looking at that balance to get it out on the line, I think. Yeah.
Matt has something to say.
Well, I think I totally agree that it comes down to the people and to understanding why. Because if you understand why I'm doing this, then you get more motivated. And also if you start slow and start from one place and then like a proof of concept, and then you can work it on that way, I think you get the people involved, and then you understand what's happening, and if you can see the effects, and if you see the effects, we have one customer, Beds by Skapa, we from one of the first manufacturing customers, and we made a progress bar. They were manufacturing beds, and then they could see, oh, we are doing so many, and the other team are doing that, and they were competing, and the efficiency went up 56% in 1 week.
Cool.
And then it's a positive way. Yes. I think if you do it in a positive way, you can compete, but you still have the heart left with the people, then everything works. But if you go override them, it won't happen. So I think that is the most important thing from our perspective to back to the people.
Yeah.
But the people, not, because we were talking about LinkedIn before, and what have happened with LinkedIn since Microsoft bought it, it's the data, and what can we do with data? But it falls back to relations.
Yeah, fully agree. I can also add from our perspective, and what we have worked a lot with is to focus on the people, because very often when we get new data and issues, we want to focus on the issues. So why should it always be the black dot on the paper we are focusing on, instead of focusing on, okay, yesterday we had an OE on 80. So talk about what did good that day. What was the good part of it? Maybe all the material was always on time, or this person did an extra effort this day. Okay, how can we use that knowledge so the day we were good? How can we use that and push that for the other days as well? So not always point at the negative things, but what is the good things we're doing, and push that story out. I think that's necessary to have the commitment and engagement through the operator as well.
I agree to both of you, and I think also but sometimes I also think it's not only the employees or operators that they should have insights in everything. Maybe they should only have insights in what they can change. We are talking about OEE and so on, but sometimes wouldn't that only be something that is a matter for the top management or production managers? I think you should involve the operators' employees to maybe gather info on what could be changes that could do something meaningful for on the line. Yes, OE is something but it's also all related to money as well. Sometimes it's also maybe not only needed to be money that you should have focus on, but also the team spirit within the production. So I think there is many layers of how you should involve the operators and employees and the whole team efforts. So it could be divided up in different kind of layers, how you should actually collect the data or visualize it at least. Collect it, everybody should do. But yeah.
I have one more about the people and collecting data. With Väderstad, they are now competing in continuous improvements. Because if you can measure the continuous improvements and do it digitally, then you see what's happening. So they had so many more improvements when they can see what's happening in the data and competing with each other. 2,000 people, 50 different departments and so on. But you do it, the people do it, but you have to see the data and what's happening with it. So I think the combination is always best.
Yeah. So I think we can conclude that change management is a big challenge of digitalization. What other challenges do you guys see from your experiences when it comes to digitalizing the manufacturing environment?
Yeah, I can go again. I have a deep opinion on that. I think very often we need to push for the skill gap of the knowledge we have within the digitalization, within the data, also the maturity level within our operations, both for operators, managements as well. We say we want to be data driven. We say we want to work with data, but do we actually know what data is? Do we know what a Pareto diagram is? Do we know the metric OE, a tough metric as well? So we need to educate and train these and focus on getting the operators in this level as well. I think that is one of the major challenges we have on that level. I will also say one of the challenges is also there are rare, in my opinion, what we see a major strategy about the digitalization. We have a solution over here who can fix the paperless production. We have a solution over here who will give us an insights on this robot, and we have a solution over here. So it's also how can we combine this? And I know OMRON has been working a lot of it. How can we combine different systems into one and go with that UI and so on? That's also a great fact. But solution we have the integrations. So we need to think more scalable solution how we can collect everything in one. Because if we need to have 3, 4 different 5 systems to maintain, I think that's the same as having 5 different hobbies. You will lose 4 of them in the end anyway. So you can only commit for 1, maybe 2 or 3. But remember the operators in that part, train them, invest in the operators. Because we want to say install a new robot. Maybe we can reduce cost of 2 employees. But who are the experts on the robot? Who can drive the robot? Who can maintain the data from it, the maintenance part of it as well? So that's... remember the people again, lift them up to another level with the skills and that's it. Kenneth?
Mikkel? I think you are saying the right things about, but it's more, it's investments on collecting all the data from all the kind of different machines that you have. And that's where we have a solution that actually could help collecting the data from the existing lines, using them, throw them up to a database where you actually can start to make these analytics. But I think also it's when we talk about digitalization, the management think that it is a huge investment because they need to change their ERP system, MES system, etc. And also again train the employees. But important thing is that if you always will have these kind of thoughts that it's a huge investment, you will never start. So I think finding a solution on like Factbird, for instance, the DuoBox, that's the easy way of collecting data quickly and start to analyze and use it. Afterwards, when you have the knowledge behind how to use it, you could scale it out and scale it up, and then use the existing lines already to track data, and then combine it, do analytics on those, and then use it.
Yeah.
But that's my gut feeling. Mats?
Why not? Well, from our perspective, it's well, I'm from a different branch before, but what I've seen, we've been in Borsom 5 for 4 years and visiting a lot of manufacturing companies. They have all the high-tech machinery, the robots and everything, but they still lack the information from the people. So, I mean, we were the digital daily management, and for us it's so interesting that they invest a lot of money in a lot of products measuring data, but they forget the people on the way. So that's very interesting for us to have seen that a lot of companies are changing in the way they are thinking, but we've also seen that's a cultural thing in some companies, because we get emails sometimes from people out there and saying they are quite frustrated that the management still wants to do it the old school way, the daily management, and they are lacking for something else. So I think you have to listen to have people in the audience nodding. That's good. Yeah. Because things are lacking. Some things are very professional, digitalized, but some things are from the Stone Age. So I think you have to have the mix of both. And if you combine the both, then you get the best. But it comes down to leadership in the people and the culture and everything. and open up and also start small, and then as we talked about before. But that's from our perspective, and I have to talk about that. That's probably why I'm here.
Yeah, a good point as well. But the scale of part of it is of course important. But also, I just had a thought about also to mention. It's very important to, as I mentioned before, the strategy part of it. I'd also see the digitalization as the same paradigm as when we started with the lean journey. So the lean, very often, if you don't combine it in the full value chain, it will make the silo optimizations. The same issue can occur with digitalization, because now I got a new robot and it's filled with data and I can do anything. Now I want to focus on this robot. But I also need to look into my production layout. Where is it I want to measure? How can we have the synergies with the start of the line, the materials, the robots, the end of the line, so I remember how my input is and how my output is, what is going to the next customer, and how can we affect that. So remember, the full value chain is just focusing on specific parts of the line as well. Because if you have a long line and focus on the robot, and suddenly new stuff will just occur. We can solve issues, but very often when we see, okay, now we have solved this issue with the foil, next day another issue over here. So we need to focus on creating this overall layout structure and see how we can make these synergies. I think it's a big part of it that's very often forgotten, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay, so following on from synergies of data, and you already mentioned it, that you have oftentimes very scattered systems in a production, right? And then also different levels of digitalization of different machines. We sometimes get asked, like, from customers who want a system that can do everything, like the one-shop solution, basically. And then we have customers who have a different strategy of using various systems that are very specialized on one specific problem and then trying to integrate them. And I think that's a general industry discussion of what's the better way. So I would be curious to hear your guys' opinion on that.
Yes.
There is a right answer.
There's always a right answer, yeah. No, I think that it's correct, but I think also it's about being flexible in your productions. And if you have only one system or vendor that you can rely on, you're not flexible in how your production is. But Mikkel, you can answer me on that afterwards. But I think with the situation that we are in today and how the society is, you need to have quick changeovers, being flexible on changing your production, and gathering data so that you can be more resilient on what is ongoing when we are talking about supply chain management, etc. So having one vendor will also be challenging on getting a flexible production. That's my point of view.
Yeah. Fully agree. You can be locked on one vendor, but you also, if you have different vendors, you have different suppliers. You also, as I mentioned earlier, it's very important to collect this data in the same point in somehow, so you can get the knowledge of what is the impacts and what is the influence of the different data sources, and how can we understand it in the best approach. But for me, it's also, when you mentioned, you need to be flexible. You need to have the customization level of it as well, so we can build this and understand the different layers of it. Because there are really many layers of the data, but again, let's start simple. Let's remove the big stones in the water before we start to scratch the end of the lake, to be honest. And that's very often where we try to scratch the end of the lake before we remove the big stones. So then the troubles will just come again. I can see a lot of nodding out there, so I have said something right this time. But I think really that's a part of it. Remember the flexibility of it and have the customization level. If we lock ourselves down in one solution, we will be locked and don't have the opportunity. And going forward, then maybe we will have some issues we need to go back to because the system is too locked. We need to open it up again, and integration part of it as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with the vendor issue, but I think the most important thing is that you have trust in the ones that you work with, and that you really trust them. And I trust the Factbird guys. That's why I'm here. But it comes down to trust and people, and then I think also to visit a lot of companies that are working to be curious what's happening on the market, because sometimes you're stuck in your mind in some way. And that you open up for the people, because we have in Boston Fire, we have fire starters. We call some of the ones that are running our product, They are fire starters, so open up for them to, because some people are more driven than the other ones, make them start and see something. We have Väderstad again as a good example. A lot of companies are visiting Väderstad. They are flying people from all over from Sweden and have like 4 times a year visiting Väderstad to see what's happening. And the customer are telling how they work, and they can, and from that perspective, they can see, is that like our business or something else? And then take that new relations, meet new people, be curious all the way. And I have a good, fun example from Johan Emenius. He's the Väderstad production system manager. And he said, I really liked it when I could throw the whiteboard pencils in the bin. So then you know what we are driving for all the time. Together with like good systems. OMRON is new for me, so this is going to be a nice chat with you later.
Okay, cool. So now we talked a lot about benefits, challenges. We also already mentioned some trends in the technology. So where do you see the state of digitalization in 5 years from now? Are we gonna all run around with the VR goggles?
Ken, I'll let you start on that one.
Maybe we will sit here again in 5 years.
Talking again
about the same. No, yeah, for sure that AI would be incorporated in many of the enterprise companies, but I think many is still on the journey in 5 years' time on how to use the data and how to get the data. Yes, enterprise companies would go the way, and they have the money as well, the investments that they have the investments to go on the journey using the AI and need to do it because they are also the way of how we learn and how we can get data more efficient to the medium-sized companies and so on. So I think we are still on the journey in 5 years' time, but the enterprise companies would maybe use VR goggles and so forth. Some is already doing it, but it's more scaled out, for sure.
Good. Yeah, in my opinion, I think, as you mentioned, the big companies are going ahead and testing some things, but I still think in 5 years it's still new for a lot of companies, and it will be, in my opinion, will still be a lot of pushing for the real-time monitoring systems, the IoT systems, the most adaptable ones, the easiest one to start with, and then when you have these, you will combine it with the AI, hopefully more in the future to support the company in that direction. But also for the data analytics part of it, I think will involve massive, because working with this massive amounts of data, you need to have some kind of system that can support you on that, because that's a heavy task as well. You also need to push for the knowledge and the skills to work with this data analytics part of it. So I think that will evolve massive, in my opinion, for the next 5 years. But also looking towards match, because I also think when we go production, I've seen a lot of production areas, and we still have the boards in the production and talking about power of the pin. I really like the digitalization part of it, because you have the data, it's easy to push, but I also like that you have the meetings, so you can have the boards pushed out for the production part of it, integrated with the operator. So I think that part will be a massive focus going forward. And when we're talking sustainability, I think they have a big impact within the digitalization as well, because paperless production is maybe the easiest thing to touch first, because we have 10 different papers raising quality, what etc. could be within the production. So that may be the easiest part to remove first, and going towards this digital solution with tablets and boosters.
If we go back 4 years, we had a pandemic, and if we go 4 or 5 years ahead, maybe there will be another one. Who knows? And I was looking why I'm saying this, because when we started our company, the management weren't allowed to be at the factories. So how could you see the data? So things happens all the way. So always preparing for what's coming up next, and I totally agree what you two say, so I don't have much more to say about that. But what happened, the pandemic, that made our company going, because something world-changing was happening, because you weren't allowed to be at work, and how to see the whiteboard. Take your mobile phone and send an SMS or something. So that's what boosted our company, because you weren't allowed as a manager to be at work. So things can happen again. So I think we have to prepare for the future, but hopefully no more pandemics.
I was going to say, that was quite a bummer now. But Kenneth, you also already mentioned that there's a big difference already between the big companies doing a lot of tests with AI and VR and so on, and then the small companies who are still mainly being paper-based, if we're being honest. And with now the future moving on 5 years, how do you see that gap evolving? Can the small ones still catch up, or is it going to be a big one eats all the small ones in the future?
There is room for everyone, right? So I think that the thing that they need to accept is that if they want to be competitive in the field, they need to start using the data and to be effective against their competitors by doing better. So that could be a slow start on getting, okay, what is our OEE? Are we as efficient as we actually think we are? So I think, yeah, for sure, there will be room for them as well. But they need to start thinking about taking the jump, so to say, to use the data. So reach out.
Mikkel, how do you see that in your industry with the competition and the race for digitalization?
I think they need to come on board as fast as possible, in my opinion, because it's now or never, to be honest. I don't think they will be left behind, because we always know that the one taking the risk, the one going first, the new explorers will take the heavy hits, and other companies will learn from those. But I think now we have taken the heavy hits. We're talking in plug-and-play solutions as well as Factbird. There's a lot of plug-and-play solutions out there. It's not science, to be honest, to start collecting this data. So we need to start simple in some basic. Just going towards the paperless production, going towards tablets, registrations, working towards that. We are in a new generation where cell phones, tablets are the most used equipment we have in a daily business as well. So we also need to transform that into the operating part of it in the day-to-day basis. We have had a lot of discussions how we experience also a lot of feedback when we try to put the tablets without in production. I've never had a smartphone. So we still have some of the older generations within the market. And that's also a transformational journey to get those within those. But it easy can be to use these systems as well. But also you have people that have some issues with reading and stuff like that. We also need to take that into consideration, because now everything is digital. How can we use this? Can we have a reader within our tablets? Can we have the picture format? I really like this one. Taking a picture of something, get the knowledge and get the explanation through some kind of system in that. So start simple and build up, but get on the journey now. Contact Kenneth at OMRON. That's the way.
It's just a sales show for Kenneth.
No, but I think also sometimes they think that, again, investments, that they need to do heavily investments, but you can easily start to collect data by already use the existing machine that they have. It's just a matter of how we get in touch on talking about the communication, where they want to have the data. And so, if it's in a server, Azure, Amazon, whatsoever, locally, dashboard, they just need to start, as you mentioned. And it's not that heavily cost that they need to spend to begin.
I actually have a question for you, Mats.
Before you ask a question, I was just thinking about collecting data, because we can collect data in different ways, and we like also to collect data from the people, as I said before, and talking about game-changing things that is quite fun. It's Hitachi Energy, one good customer for us. They have like the breaker challenge. So if the people have cross-functional meetings, we go for a lunch, we go for a jog or something. When you have a daily meetings, you get points. And if you get points, you compete, and then you can get nice prices, and also the profit goes up in the company. So that's collecting data as well, in a different way, but that builds it also differently. So that's I think if you can put in some gamification, some positivity on the way, then you get more motivated. Not only the hard facts, you need the hard facts because you need to know how it goes, of course. But if you can combine them. And I think we will find more of those things in the future. And we have customers that hardly can use a smartphone, but if you have a product or a platform that is easy to use, then you get more engaged. So I think it comes down to that every time. Now ask me the question.
Yeah. But the point is, as you mentioned, you work with the balls on the fire. So very often, when you go for a new customer, new projects, do they want everything at once, or is it easy to keep them at a simple point? Okay, now we need to have this data, and then we'll build up, because I think that's an issue of whether that might be something you occur very often.
Thank you. Well, we use sometimes to make it too big, but now we have like 3 different packages and 1 enterprise package. So now it's much easier, and we start small. Yeah. Now always start small, and we try to stop them so they don't go too big too fast. Because then if you want all integration from the beginning, then you have long sales processes. It could be like 12, 18 months. We have our fastest customers, they were up and running in 2 weeks. No integrations running. And then, okay, the system's working. And we had the processes before because they work with daily management in some way. And then if that works, okay, we want to integrate some good stuff over here, or over there, and so it comes in the right way. But you don't have to make it so big. It starts somewhere,
Yeah, and back to my point, I think so. That's the part of it. What the heavy company has taken. They have tried to do everything at once at the first time, and taking the hits. We cannot do that. We cannot build everything and collaborate all data at once. We need to start simple, and that's a good point of it. And that's why small companies as well need to get on the journey, because the solution is out there. The opportunities is there to start small and develop in that approach. Yeah.
Now, you may have already answered the last question, but what advice would you give customers who are just starting the digitalization journey? And I guess start small is one of them, but maybe I have some more.
Then I can go in another direction as well, because I always say I will not implement the plate again. So for me, it's really about the knowledge sharing and the networking part of it. Gain inspiration from others. Make sure I don't have any secrets within my company. Of course, we have some, but I can gain knowledge from learning from other companies, other industries as well. How are you using this? What hits have you been taking? What is your future approach into this? So go into networking, really find some other experts, not only in the same industry, but also abroad and across countries as well, because the culture changes within it is quite fantastic. So, well, we think in Denmark we are good abroad. We can have Sweden with a good example of digitalization and that part of it, but also when we go deeper down, we can gain a lot of how to use this. So that would be just to go in another full direction, gain inspiration and seek out the networking part of it. You should not do everything by yourself. You can gain inspiration, you can get the support. I think that will be my biggest advice going forward. Seek the inspiration there. Yeah. Kenneth, you?
Yeah.
There's no order here, guys.
No. But I think it's important to find a way of starting. And Mikkel, maybe you could tell about where you started afterwards. But because I think that would be interesting for the people to know where you started to do the data analytics and why you did it there. Because there is various reasons of doing data and collecting it to start. Would it be under waste, under scrap, or would it be under OEE? Where on the production line should we start? It's a huge challenge. But the most important thing is, again, OEE is a pretty easy way of gathering data. And then can you actually start collecting that and analyzing that? Is it what you expect? And then you can do analytics afterwards. I think that would be a way of beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So where did you start, me?
It's actually the fun part how we started using data in another approach, going way back, not in the company I'm working now, but we're starting actually taking time on our operators going to the bathroom.
That's
a little fun perspective of it, but suddenly we had an increase of, we had a lot of breaks, suddenly we saw an increase of bathroom visits. and why we couldn't do that. And we just taking the manual analog data and put it in and just highlight for operators. Suddenly they could see it by themselves. This is where really, okay, how can we transform new data into new perspectives? The weeks going forward, the months going forward, we always use the bathroom within our breaks. So just an example of how to gather new information. This was really the inspiration for me to start working with digitalization, going toward into this new phase. But again, I have taken a lot of hits, and I'm an open book more or less, because I have made the mistakes by thinking we could do everything at once. Lucky for me, I got the opportunity to start from scratch in a new company with the same system as well, learn from my mistakes and seek the knowledge and inspiration out there. But again, we wanted to start simple. We want to gain knowledge because we gathered a lot of data manually on paper. But the issue was we didn't use it to anything. We had 2 or 3 guys registered into Excel, into a nice report nobody was looking at. So where I really got convinced and where I want to push was this real-time data. I can see seconds by seconds how we are performing. And that's going back to what, Mats, you have mentioned a lot of this day, talking about the competitive part of it. Because I think when you have the visualizations, you can see how you're performing. Statistics seen, that will raise the efficiency just by a few points of showing this. And the competitive part of it, I want to be better in the next one. That's in our genes, that in the humans, so pushing for that part of it. That was where our journey started in the simple approach. After all the mistakes we have done, of course, man. Yeah.
You are so smart, you two guys. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Well, I totally agree. I mean, to be third out, what more to say? But I think to be curious, as we talked about before, always be curious. And I think always listen to the people, back to the people all the time, because we forget so much with only the data. But we need it, because it's so interesting when we have it. We can follow up different things and we can see the progress. And who wants to play football not knowing what the score is? No one? Denmark 1-1. Okay, you have a new game, but Sweden isn't in the cup, so we can't say anything. But I think we are all competitive in one way, and to compete and measure, that drives something. It drives because we are that kind of. I mean, people. We want to develop. We want to learn new things and to set goals. I think we can set goals higher than we even expect. We can. But I think it's our mind that sometimes only stops us. If we were in a good company with good people, we feel trust, and in that way we can be better. Continuous improvements.
Yeah, fully agree on that. And just my point on setting the goal is also not setting the high goal for the first time. That has been a big knowledge from me, and also what I want to push further. Go more like the stairs development, taking a step-by-step solution, because it's really important to celebrate these successes. This is quite important to keep the momentum, keeping the commitment for all different levels within the organization. Really had a success with that, but we started setting 2 high goals, and we didn't get the commitment because it was unachievable. Then we gave up before we started. Like Sweden not attending in the EU as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further points? No? Okay, then I'm looking at my timekeeper. How are we on the time? Okay, we're done then for today. So unfortunately, no time for further questions, but thank you guys so much for participating. And for the ones who are watching from home, you will now get to enjoy the trailer for our upcoming Danish Crown documentary. So have fun.